It's nearly impossible to look back on the ads from the mid-20th century that often featured egregiously sexist material and think they'd be appropriate today. Not only is the world a very different place than then, but the majority of these ads weren't really even that appropriate for their time. Let's take a reflective look back in time at some of these outlandishly misogynistic ads from yesteryear. Hopefully, if we learn from our mistakes, history won't repeat itself. Sometimes the only way to move forward is to look backwards, so let's dive on into these murky waters. Show Her It's a Man's World, 1951. Van Heusen's Men's World Ties ran an ad campaign in 1951 where they claimed their products were, quote, for men only, and that their power-packed patterns reminded women that they lived in a man's world. And by wearing their ties, men could make women so happy that it was. In one print ad featuring these slogans, a woman can be seen in a subservient posture presenting her husband with breakfast in bed. The message was clear. Men were the breadwinners and women owed their existence to them. Oh yeah, and donning a brand new Van Heusen necktie was the perfect way to assert this message. Can you imagine what would happen if this ran today? Good Thing He Kept His Head, 1960. Mr. Legs brand trousers weren't anything special. Dress pant brands were a dime a dozen back in the mid-20th century. To spice up their ad campaign, the advertising gurus at Mr. Legs decided to throw in a little bit of sexist rhetoric in hopes of driving up sales of their mundane clothing line. Quote, a display of affection is great, but enough is enough. She couldn't keep her hands off him. Always the little hugs, the pats on the cheek, sly pinches. It could drive a man to the license bureau, read the ad in question. They followed up this nauseating bit by adding that, quote, it all began when he wore his first pair of Mr. Legs slacks, but he kept his head, now everything's under control. Then came the call to action with the ad urging prospective customers to, quote, try a pair of Mr. Legs and get ready to dig. Why must he dig, you ask? Well, in the print ad, a woman is seen buried up to her neck in sand. The ad instructed consumers to purchase their wares to find out if she had perfect legs. Hey, if you're enjoying this video so far, be sure to give it a like and subscribe to Facts Verse if you haven't already. Stay tuned to discover what the secret to wooing a woman's heart really is. Blow in her face and she'll follow you anywhere. Tippolette brand cigars, which were basically Black and Milds, insisted the way to a woman's heart was by blowing harsh-flavored tobacco smoke directly into her face. Quote, hit her with tangy Tippolette cherry, or rich grapey Tippolette burgundy, or luscious Tippolette blueberry. It's wild, read their outrageous print ads. Apparently, just a puff of that eye-stinging smoke blown into a woman's face would make her follow a man wherever he went. BROOMSTICKS brand pants, 1960s. We're not entirely certain what this ad was trying to imply. It indicated, however, that wearing broomstick slacks entitled men to harass half-naked women in a group setting. 5 men were seen grabbing a woman wearing only her underwear, while the text of the ad urged the reader that if they didn't want to play their way, they should take off their pants and go home, whatever that's supposed to mean. That creepy bit of advertising just seemed like an endorsement of sexual assault. A cigar brings out the caveman in you, 1959. The Cigar Institute of America ran this utterly unhinged ad in 1959. The text informed the reader that smoking cigars would somehow tap them into their dormant primal nature. The next line claimed there's a man-sized feeling of power in smoking a cigar. While those statements on their own weren't particularly scandalous, the image accompanying them, featuring a man in a business suit holding a club while an attractive young woman sat at his feet, was particularly unsettling. It's nice to have a girl around the house, 1960. Mr. Legs brand slacks certainly were consistent with their deplorable ad campaigns. In this perplexing ad, a woman can be seen depicted as some kind of half-human, half-tiger who had been turned into a floor rug. A man stood on top of her pelt with the words, "It's nice to have a girl around the house," plastered below. Below that message, which was awful enough, read another block of text that took the whole thing to an entirely new level of flagrant grossness. Quote, "Though she was a tiger lady, our hero didn't have to fire a shot to floor her." The ad went on to gloat that it was the man's Mr. Legs branded pants that made her ready to, quote, "have him walk all over her." You mean a woman can open it? 1953. Alcoa Aluminum put out this revolting ad back in 1953, but it was offensive even by that era's standards. The ad declared that even a woman could open one of their glass bottles easily without the assistance of a knife, bottle opener, or even her husband. According to the ad, all it took was a dainty grip coupled with an easy two-finger twist to open up a bottle of ketchup. So the harder a wife works, the cuter she looks. 1939. Didn't you know? All women exist solely for the amusement of men, right? Well, that's at least what this noxious ad for Kellogg's Pep brand vitamins wanted us to think. The ad featured a comic of a man asking his wife what her secret to looking so amazing was after a hard day of cooking, cleaning, and dusting. She, of course, replied by informing him it was her daily use of Pep brand vitamins that kept her looking so marvelous. How to hold a husband? 2 words, whipped cream. Back in the day, supposedly the best way to keep your husband around was by garnishing his desserts with a spritz of Reddi-wip whipped cream. This ad encouraged wives to impress their husbands by planning a nice dinner featuring his favorite foods, followed up with a serving of pie glorified with Reddi-wip canned whipped cream. Finally, women no longer had to slave away over the mixing bowl to prepare the sweet fluffy stuff for their husbands. With Reddi-wip ready to go in the refrigerator, they held the keys to their man's undying devotion. Thank goodness. GRIFFIN shoe polish ads, 1950s. The ad guys at GRIFFIN Microsheen decided the best way to promote their stain boot polish was with a little help from these hypersexualized pinup girls. Because what better way to sell something as mundane as shoe polish than with a little bit of old-fashioned, tried-and-true sex appeal? These ads ran through the 50s, and a few of them that we didn't choose to include in this video were way more X-rated than these ones. Congratulations, dear, but 1960s. Long before the glory days when Jell-O pudding featured convicted and acquitted sex offender Bill Cosby pitching their jiggly snacks, they ran these sexist ads that implied a woman's natural place was in the kitchen. One such ad, and there were plenty of them with varying messages, indicated that a woman, even though she was an assistant vice president for some sort of corporation, ought to occupy her time by whipping up a bowl of the pudding of all things. Because innocence is sexier than you think, 1975. What could possibly be creepier than sexualizing children to sell beauty products? This ad for Love Cosmetics' line of body lotions, powders, and bath products claimed their goods made women irresistible with that, quote, clean baby smell that was grown enough to be sexy. The text of the ad was accompanied by a picture of a young, presumably underage model clutching a teddy bear, clearly implying that youth was the ultimate holy grail that men should be looking for. Want him to be more of a man? Try being more of a woman. 1974. Emerald perfume not only made this vomit-worthy statement in their ad from 1974, but they also implied they knew what being more of a man or a woman really meant. The ad suggested that being a man used to mean having 16-inch biceps or driving faster than everyone else, but today they declared it meant being strong enough to be gentle. For women, on the other hand, Emerald explained that being more of a woman previously involved playing hard to get, but today it meant not acting at all. Are you the right kind of woman for it? 1970s. The Mistress collection by fashion brand Funky was promoted in the 70s with yet again another sexist ad campaign. The company informed women they could light their man's fire by dancing to a calypso beat while drinking champagne from a bottle and wearing nothing else but an Edwardian rose behind her ear. The message was clear: flaunt your sexuality to please the man of your dreams. Don't get the freshest coffee? You might be in for a spanking. 1952. Apparently in the 50s, nothing went better with a nice, piping hot cup of Morning Joe like a slice of domestic violence. Chase and Sanborn ran this incredibly disturbing ad in 1952. In it, they all but endorsed the practice of men bending their wives over their knee and giving her a spanking if they didn't store test to find the freshest coffee to appease his fickle palate. Now it's time to hear from you. In the comments section below, let us know which ad you found the most shocking. And be sure to give this video a like and subscribe to Facts First if you haven't already. Click the bell icon to stay updated on all our latest content.